I still remember the first time I met Alex like it was yesterday, even though years have passed. It was at a friend's party, the kind of night where everything feels magical and you believe in forever. We talked for hours, laughed until our cheeks hurt, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: hope. That hope blossomed quickly into love, or at least what I thought was love. In the beginning, we were inseparable. I reveled in the way he looked at me, like I was the only person in the room. Our conversations stretched deep into the night, sharing dreams, fears, and silly little things that made us smile. There was a lightness to us, a joy that felt unbreakable, and I clung to that feeling like it was all I ever wanted. But love, I learned, isn't always about light and laughter. Sometimes it's about shadows, shadows that creep in slowly, unnoticed, until they consume everything. The cracks started to show not long after we moved in together. Small things at first, forgotten plans, a harsh word here or there, a silence that hung longer than it should. I tried to ignore it, telling myself it was just stress or exhaustion. But deep down, I felt the distance growing, like an invisible wall between us. The man who once held my hand so tenderly now seemed like a stranger sharing my space, his eyes avoiding mine more often than not. One evening, I came home after a long day, hopeful for a warm welcome, but instead found the apartment cold and empty. His note on the fridge said he was out with friends. It was the first time I felt truly alone in our shared home, the silence louder than any argument we'd ever had. I confronted him when he got back, voice trembling, asking why he didn't call or tell me. Alex shrugged, tired and distant, saying he just needed to unwind. But the words felt hollow, like they were meant to shut me up rather than explain anything. My heart sank deeper into a pit I couldn't escape. Days turned into weeks, and the pattern repeated itself, him retreating, me reaching out and getting nothing but cold shoulders. The resentment began to fester inside me, a quiet but persistent ache that gnawed at the edges of my love for him. I wanted to fight for us, but every battle seemed to leave me more bruised. I remember one night vividly, sitting across from him at the dinner table, the tension so thick I could cut it with a knife. I tried to start a conversation, anything to break the silence, but he just stared at his plate, not saying a word. When I finally asked if something was wrong, he snapped back, accusing me of being too needy. Those words hit me harder than any slap. To be called needy by someone you love feels like a rejection of your very existence. I withdrew into myself after that, afraid that showing any more emotion would only push him further away. The resentment wasn't just his anymore. It lived inside me now, poisoning my thoughts. I tried talking to friends about it, hoping for some clarity or advice, but it always ended in the same place, me feeling like I was the problem. Maybe I was too sensitive, too demanding, too much. The self-doubt crept in, making the resentment twist into guilt and shame. Alex and I stopped sharing our days. The little details that used to bring us closer became sources of irritation. I noticed how he never asked about my work anymore, how his attention was glued to his phone or the TV. I felt invisible, and the resentment grew louder, screaming inside me every time I was ignored. One weekend, I planned a small getaway, hoping to rekindle whatever spark we'd lost. I was nervous but excited, imagining us laughing and talking like old times. But when I told Alex about it, he barely looked up from his game, muttering that he had other plans. My heart shattered in that moment, the pieces scattering into 1,000 resentful shards. The resentment shifted then, no longer just a quiet ache, but a roaring storm. I began keeping score of every slight, every careless word, every moment I felt abandoned. It consumed me, driving wedges deeper between us. We fought more often, shouting matches that left us both breathless and broken. In one argument, I remember yelling that I felt like I was living with a ghost, someone who looked like Alex but didn't really see me anymore. He fired back, accusing me of suffocating him, of trying to control every part of his life. Neither of us was wrong, but neither of us was right either. We were just two people drowning in resentment. The nights became the hardest. I would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every hurtful word, every cold glance. Sometimes I cried silently, afraid that if he heard, it would only push him farther away. The love that once felt like a warm blanket now felt like a cage I couldn't escape. I found myself withdrawing from friends and family, embarrassed to admit how bad things had gotten. I was ashamed that what looked like a perfect relationship on the outside was crumbling inside. The resentment had seeped into every corner of my life, coloring my days with doubt and pain. One evening, after a particularly brutal fight, Alex left the apartment, slamming the door behind him. I was left alone in the dark, the silence deafening. I sat on the floor, knees pulled to my chest, feeling the weight of everything crashing down. That night, I realized how much resentment had changed us. Two people who once loved fiercely now barely recognized each other. Despite everything, I still wanted to believe in us. I reached out to Alex the next day, suggesting we talk calmly, really listen to each other. To my surprise, he agreed. We sat down, the air thick with tension, and slowly, painfully, we began to unravel the knots in our tangled emotions. We talked for hours, not about blame or accusations, but about how lonely we both felt, how resentment had crept in when we stopped communicating, when we stopped trying. It wasn't a magic fix, but it was a start, a fragile thread reaching out in the darkness. Since then, things have been up and down. Some days we find moments of connection, laughing at old jokes or sharing a quiet meal. Other days, the resentment returns like a shadow, reminding us of the damage done. It's exhausting, but also strangely honest. I don't know what the future holds for us. Sometimes I wonder if love can survive this kind of bitterness, or if it's already too late. But I keep holding on to the hope that beneath the resentment, there's still the person I fell in love with, the person worth fighting for. Some nights I lie awake and imagine what it would be like if we could just hit reset. If we could go back to those early days when laughter was easy and the world felt full of possibilities. But then reality settles in, reminding me that love isn't just about the good times, it's about weathering the storms too. I wish I could say we've figured it all out, that the resentment has been washed away. But the truth is, it's still there, lurking beneath the surface, waiting for moments of weakness to resurface. And maybe that's what makes this story so painfully real. The love hasn't disappeared, it's just been tainted, complicated by the scars we carry. I sometimes catch myself wondering if Alex feels the same way, the mix of love and resentment tangled inside him. Maybe he's just as scared as I am, afraid to admit how broken we really are. Or maybe he's given up, retreating into silence because it feels safer than facing the mess between us. Whatever the truth is, I know one thing for sure: this isn't a story with a neat ending. It's messy, complicated, and ongoing. A love that's been tainted by resentment, but still stubbornly holding on, trying to find its way back to something real. I'm writing this here because maybe, just maybe, someone else out there understands what it's like to love someone so deeply, but feel that love slipping through their fingers. To wrestle with the bitterness that builds when pain goes unspoken. To hope for healing even when it feels impossible. Every day is a battle between hope and despair, between the memories of who we were and the reality of who we've become. And though the path is uncertain and the road is rough, I'm still walking it, step by step, with all the messy, heartbreaking love I have left. Sometimes I wonder if resentment is just love's shadow, the dark reflection of all the ways we hurt each other when we stop being careful. Maybe the only way to find the light again is to face those shadows head-on, even when it feels unbearable. I don't have all the answers. I don't even know if there's a way back to the love we once had. But sharing this story here feels like a small act of courage, a way to say that despite the bitterness and the pain, love still matters, even when it's broken. So here I am, caught in the middle of a love that's been tainted by resentment, trying to hold on without losing myself. trying to find the words to say what's left unsaid, and hoping that maybe, someday, those words will be enough to heal the wounds we've made.